Most owners underestimate their dog, not out of dismissiveness, out of a framework for intelligence that was built for humans and measures everything else by how closely it resembles what humans do. By that framework, a dog who cannot solve a logic puzzle or learn to read is not very intelligent. By that framework, the cognitive life of a dog is simple, reactive, and not particularly remarkable. That framework is wrong. And what it misses is not a small thing. It is the specific, extraordinary intelligence that a dog brings to exactly the things her intelligence evolved to do. An intelligence that is not lesser than human intelligence. That is different from it. And that, measured against its own purpose rather than against ours, is remarkable in ways that most owners have been living with daily without recognizing for what it is. 9 signs, each one a window into a cognitive capacity your dog has been demonstrating since the day she arrived. The first sign is that she knows when you are lying, not in the abstract, philosophical sense. In the specific behavioral sense that she reads the alignment or the misalignment between your body language, your tone, your micro-expressions, and what you are presenting on the surface. She has been building a model of you since the day you met. A detailed, continuously updated model of what your honest presentation looks like. And when the surface presentation and the internal state do not match, she detects the discrepancy. This is not mystical. It is perceptual acuity applied to a social task. She reads the tension in your jaw when your voice is calm. She reads the cortisol in your breath when your posture says relaxed. She reads the micro movements of your eyes and hands and weight distribution that humans with their verbal bandwidth have largely stopped attending to. She knows when something is off before you have finished deciding how to present it. If you have ever tried to hide an emotion from your dog and found that she responded to the hidden thing rather than the presented thing, she was not guessing. She was reading. The second sign is that she understands the concept of pointing. This sounds simple. It is not. The ability to use a pointing gesture, a directional signal that says the relevant information is over there in the direction I am indicating, requires understanding that the pointer and the pointer's intention are the object of attention, not the pointing hand itself. Behavioral research into canine cognition has established that dogs follow human pointing gestures with a reliability that chimpanzees, our closest genetic relatives, do not match in the same experimental conditions. She looks where you point. She understands that the point is a communication about the world rather than an object to investigate. That capacity is not general mammalian intelligence. It is a specific cognitive adaptation, the product of thousands of years of selection for animals that could read and respond to human communicative intent. She was built to understand you. The pointing is evidence that the building worked. The third sign is her ability to learn by watching. She has figured out how to open the gate. Not because she was taught, not because she worked it out through trial and error over time, because she watched you open it, extracted the relevant causal information from the observation, and applied it. Once, observational learning, the ability to extract a behavioral rule from watching another individual perform a task and apply it to one's own behavior, is a cognitive capacity that was long assumed to be uniquely human or limited to our closest primate relatives. Dogs demonstrate it with a specificity that continues to surprise behavioral researchers. She is not imitating randomly. She is identifying the causally relevant action and replicating it with the efficiency of an animal that learned from watching rather than doing. This is the piece most owners miss entirely. The things your dog figured out without being taught are the clearest evidence of her observational intelligence. The route she learned from watching you walk it once. The behavior she acquired from watching another dog perform it. The causal mechanism she identified from watching you interact with a novel object. She was not stumbling toward these through trial and error. She was watching and concluding. The fourth sign is her emotional memory. She remembers how things felt, not just what happened. The vet who was associated with a difficult experience is not just a recalled visual. She is the specific anticipatory anxiety that arrives when the car takes the familiar route. The person who frightened her once is not just a face she recognizes. She is the specific, full-body change that appears before they have come close enough for most owners to understand what produced it. Emotional memory, the encoding and retrieval of the affective content of experience rather than its factual content alone, was long considered a higher cognitive function requiring complex cortical processing. Research into canine memory has found that dogs demonstrate episodic-like memory, the recall of specific past events with their emotional context, in ways that meaningfully affect their current behavior across significant time spans. She remembers how you made her feel, on the good days and the hard ones. She is responding to the accumulated history of both. The fifth sign is her understanding of cause and effect across time. She hears you open the drawer where the leash is kept and she is already at the door. Not because the leash drawer sound is paired with the leash through simple association, but because she has constructed a causal model of your behavior that extends across multiple steps. Drawer means leash. Leash means walk. Walk means door. She is not waiting for each step to confirm the next. She has projected forward through the causal chain to the outcome and positioned herself accordingly. This forward projection, the use of causal understanding to anticipate a sequence of events and act on the anticipation rather than the event itself, is the cognitive signature of an animal that is not only reacting to the world, but modeling it. The sixth sign is her social problem solving. She wants something she cannot reach. She tries the direct approach and it fails. She tries a different approach. That fails too. And then she does something that is neither of the approaches she tried. She comes to you, makes a specific communicative bid, and attempts to use your capability to solve her problem. The use of a third party's capabilities to extend one's own. The understanding that another individual's capacities can be recruited to solve a problem beyond one's own reach is a cognitively sophisticated behavior. It requires a model of the other individual as a causal agent with abilities, an understanding that those abilities are potentially available, and a communicative strategy for recruiting them. She does this routinely. The nose at your hand when the toy is under the couch, the look back toward the closed door, the specific, directed communication that says, I cannot do this. You can, please. The seventh sign is her ability to read the room. She enters a space and within seconds, she has assessed the emotional state of every person in it. She knows who to approach and who to give space. She knows when the household energy is elevated and when it is safe to ask for something. She modulates her own behavior in response to the social temperature of the environment, with a sophistication that most humans do not consistently bring to the same task. This social intelligence is not instinct in the dismissive sense of that word. It is the product of a specific, sophisticated social cognition, the ongoing integration of dozens of simultaneous social signals into an assessment of the group's current state and an appropriate behavioral response to that state. She is reading the room. She has always been reading the room. She was built for exactly this. The eighth sign is her understanding of object permanence. She knows the ball exists when it has rolled under the couch and she cannot see it. She searches for it. She does not treat it as gone because it is not visible. She maintains a representation of its existence and location and pursues it based on that representation, rather than on direct perception. Object permanence. The cognitive capacity to maintain a mental representation of an object that is no longer perceptually available was once thought to develop late and incompletely in non-human animals. Research into canine cognition has found that dogs demonstrate robust object permanence, including for hidden objects that have been moved while the dog was watching. She knows things exist when she cannot see them. She holds the world in her mind, not just in her senses. The ninth sign is the one most owners experience as a feeling rather than a fact. She knows when you need her, not when you perform needing her, not when you cry or speak or show the visible surface of the distress. Before that, in the specific quality of your stillness that precedes the visible thing, in the breath change and the chemistry change and the postural shift that is legible to her before it has reached the threshold of expression, and she comes. Before you have asked, before, often, you have fully registered the thing she is responding to. That is not instinct. That is the specific integrated product of years of careful attention to one specific person, a model of you detailed enough to detect the deviation before it has become obvious, and a relationship deep enough to make the crossing of the space between you the automatic response to the detection. She knows you, specifically, completely, in more dimensions than you probably know yourself from the outside. That is not a simple animal. That is the most sophisticated reader of you that has ever existed in your life. Most owners have been measuring their dog against the wrong standard, against human intelligence, which evolved for language and abstraction and tool use, against a cognitive benchmark that was never designed for the tasks that dog intelligence was shaped to do. Flip the standard. Measure her against what she was built for. The reading of social signals, the modeling of human behavior, the integration of sensory information across multiple channels simultaneously, the construction of detailed models of specific individuals. Measured against those tasks, she is not less intelligent than you thought. She is more. Which of the 9 felt most like something you recognized in your dog? And was there one that made you see something you had been missing? Tell me in the comments. If this is the kind of watching you want to keep doing, subscribing means the next one finds you.